people go into the comments and say Zillow will replace you.
Yeah.
So I think it's really important to make clear that more than half of the revenue that Zillow makes every year is from selling your information to a real estate agent willing to pay for it. Welcome to season 4 of the Real Estate Replay. This season, we're continuing to share the good, the bad, the unethical, and sometimes illegal experiences that sellers and buyers have had to help you not get screwed over. But we're also going to spend time talking about the many lawsuits floating around the industry and how they can impact you. Perhaps even sprinkle in a few episodes explaining how all these quote unquote helpful companies are making a crap ton of money off of you. Online, and especially on TikTok, because we hang out there, unfortunately for us, there's a lot of conversation on the antitrust lawsuits, which has brought out a variety of hatred, support, denial, chaos, anger.
Different scenarios, yeah.
Oh, Jesus. So every day it's like, agents are going out of business. Zillow's going to take them down. And what I can't stand is when people say that Zillow will replace agents, because they really don't understand at this point in time how Zillow is making money. And I think it's important that we discuss companies like Zillow. I mean, Realtor.com is the same, which is operated and licensed by News Corp. So it's not even going to the Realtor Association. Maybe a percentage is for licensing fees, but majority of the revenue goes back to News Corp. So I wanted to bring on my buddy Matt, because we have talked before about BS fees. I don't remember what episode that was. It was an enjoyable one, and we made some people angry, which is totally fine with me. And again, read your contracts with your agent to see if you're being charged a BS fee. But so I want to talk about this. The internet will make agents obsolete. I think there are pros to the internet in regards to real estate, but there is a misunderstanding of what the internet has brought to consumers and whether it's actually helpful. So your thoughts first, pros on how the internet has changed the industry.
I would say it's literally changed everything, right? I mean, the point where information can travel super duper fast, whether it's good or bad, we can have that in the palm of our hands in minutes.
Right.
And I think that's kind of why, and we see this again on TikTok a lot, that critical thinking and breaking down the information you're getting rather than the initial emotional response is very important. So what we're going to lead into today more of, I'm sure, is transparency, why it's important to know, how a company like Zillow can seemingly be free to the public, but then and offer the highest powered public tool to all these people, and give all this information out. And where do they make their money, right? Like, there's always got to be something. When we're talking about agents being more transparent, I think we'll see by the end of this that we'll need these bigger tech companies to also follow suit and be a little bit more transparent as well.
You took most of mine. What was I going to say? I think it's brought a little more from a closing, paperwork, document, functionality.
Virtual closings is one of yours. Yep.
And then eventually bringing the MLS to the public, because back in, I have to look this up, 2006. Was it 2006? The DOJ had to go after the MLS a little bit, because we were essentially saying it should be a public utility and it's not being used as one. And at that time, the chief legal officer of RE/MAX said the MLS was designed as a B2B vehicle, not a business to consumer vehicle. And it was designed of a mutual sharing of information by industry peers to facilitate the sale and search for properties. The idea was cooperating brokers and agents would work to earn their own customers using their own assets, then share their listings via the MLS. So that was the goal of it. It wasn't really ever for consumers, but it has turned into be one.
Like we said at the start, if the information can travel that fast, let's be real here for a second. There's a lot of people that, and we hear it on TikTok all the time, my agent didn't get back to me quick enough. My agent didn't do this quick enough.
Right.
Or they weren't available. So I called, Zillow, and they partnered me with an agent. And now, you get all these crossovers, right? Which brings us into like procuring cause and how that can change with all the information changing, because if there is no buyer agent commission offered, then there's no procuring cause from the listing agent side to who to pay, right?
Mhm.
So there are definitely benefits and some negatives to the changes, and I think you've heard a lot of mine already, but we'll go over a lot of them here. But as you said, the DOJ made those changes. I don't know if it was the DOJ that made these changes this year, but even just as recently as the buyer agency fee being public knowledge on sites like Zillow, right? Like
Mm.
those changes are starting to come. Like people think that, oh, well, the last change we had was in 2000. No, that's a really big change that happened recently
Yeah,
for
2 years
consumer
ago.
transparency, right?
Which, speaking of trolls and fighting on TikTok, somebody was arguing with me that the DOJ didn't force NAR to do that or something, and I'm like, they 100% did. They got into this scuffle, right? Like disagreement. NAR agreed to do X, Y, and Z, and one of those things was put buyer agent commission public. Which the only website I see that does that consistently the best is Redfin right now. Some of them are getting better, but as of right now, Redfin is the
I
one.
see it all the time on Zillow. I can
Do
find it
you?
It's hidden, but you can find. It's usually on your phone. It's usually like 1 to 2 scrolls down. It's not all the way at the bottom.
Yeah, I
I
don't
can
always
find it
find it
easier
on
than I can
Zillow.
find the listing agent.
Yeah, I see. I don't always see it on Zillow. I consistently see it on Redfin, and it's like less than half a scroll down. But
Yep.
anyways, the DOJ and NAR got into this agreement. Then the Biden administration came in, and the DOJ was like, "This agreement sucks. I want out of this." And they have been fighting ever since. But NAR did implement those rules because of the DOJ. There still is a disagreement on the settlement and what they should do, but NAR made those rules because of the DOJ. So I think it's important to clarify that for the person that continues to argue with me on
So
TikTok.
the moral of the story here is that technicalities are fought over all the time in comment sections.
Oh my
Please do not
God.
waste your time with this.
And then they're like, look at this case docket. And I'm like, well, I don't want to. Like, I know what happened. I don't need to go look at this.
Yeah.
It's this whole segment could be about trolls. And
Yes.
I could talk forever. So what I think it's important too to mention is when we talk about the MLS, we shouldn't assume everybody knows what it is. So like in 1 minute or less, explain to people what the MLS is, because it's going to be important.
So the multiple listing service, I don't think people know, and at least this is the truth in my area, that when you to become a realtor, you become a realtor. Obviously, you have the ethical side of it, but that's grants you the access to the MLS, right? That's the difference between a real estate agent and a realtor. Multiple listing service, that's the biggest draw to becoming a realtor. So, I mean, the multiple listing service was established, like you said earlier, to basically be able to share and broadcast, and now it's public knowledge to be able to get maximum exposure for us to do our job as listing agents, really, which is get the most buyers into the house, the most eyes on the property. The internet's changed all that. We've gone from curb appeal when you hit the door to online curb appeal, to get
Right.
them to the door, right? That was something that 2013 14 we started to see all those professional photographers coming into the business and everything and build companies around that. To think that they've been around for less than a decade is crazy. But the
That's
multiple
wild.
listing
Right.
services, it's a database of data, of just housing data, tools. There's all kinds of tools that the MLS provides through showing time and
Which
you
was
know
bought by Zillow, right?
yes,
Okay.
that's in my notes too. Yeah.
We'll get to there. We'll get to there.
Recently, and I've
Yeah.
got some good notes on that. But showing time is you can really, when you're showing 6 or 7 different houses and you're trying to line them all up, and everyone different seller has different availabilities. They've really streamlined that process for us to help put it in a cart, organize it, text them all at the same time with a map and smart routes and all kinds of stuff. That's just one side of it. But essentially, it's a database of information for us to be able to do our job easier.
Right. And there are over like 600 of them. And
Yep.
they're usually by city or by region. And
That's the
majority,
political side of it that I don't like, because that's all
right,
about boundaries and money and who makes
correct.
what.
And majority are owned by realtor associations. Some are independent. Some of the bigger ones are independent. Mine is not by a realtor association, but it's owned majority by a giant brokerage whose headquarters are in my city. So, if it's not the association, it's still realtors making the adjustments and calls. So I think it's just important. That's what the MLS is, because it goes very much into what Zillow ended up starting to do, which
Mhm.
was to take these pieces from the MLS and the information and take some of that information and put it into one website, which other companies like realtor.com had. I think there were a few other ones that were trying to do it, but Zillow ended up getting the most attention. And that's the site that most users use per month. I forget what the total was, like 56 million users a month. Do you remember?
I know I pulled up the yearly ones, and I think they were three, almost double Redfin. But if you add in Trulia and Street Easy and some other platforms they own, it's close to triple. I think it was
Okay.
300,000. That's the number that came off the top of my head, but closer to 400,000 with the others that they own too.
Or 400 million, right?
Yeah, million, not
Like,
thousand.
that's all right. That's a lot of zeros. Eventually, they all mix together.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So, because of consumer usage, I feel like that's why, people go into the comments and say Zillow will replace you.
Yeah.
So I think it's really important to make clear that more than half of the revenue that Zillow makes every year is from selling your information to a real estate agent willing to pay for it. And that could be a monthly fee where they sell your data to like 6 people who pay $700 a month to get your data, or it could be to an agent, which is the platform they're promoting now, in which the agent in some cities like Oklahoma City is kicking back 40% of the commission they make off your sale back to Zillow.
That's slowly creeped up over the years too, by the way, because
Right.
it was lower, but it's creeped up over time.
Right. I mean, I think years ago it was like 20%, 25%. And then it was, Homelight, Dave. I mean, they all do it. Homelight, Dave Ramsey, Dave Ramsey. Sorry. It drives me crazy that he does that. All these companies, Homelight, Dave Ramsey, Home and Money has a funnel for that. All the companies that you see. And so I think it's really important to understand that people give Zillow this credit for like demolishing real estate agents, but without agents at this point in their trajectory, they would be in some trouble. They wouldn't be making as much money, and they rely
Not at
more.
all. I don't know if I told you about my I had an interview with the Dave Ramsey program. If
Oh, please
you
tell
heard
me.
about that.
Please tell me. Did you sign an NDA, or is he going to come after you? Or are you okay?
I don't think I signed anything like that. But it also, I mean, it's just basic information that I think most people already know. I think it was a 35% referral. I'm not sure. It could have been 30. It definitely wasn't 25.
Mhm.
But there was also a aspect to it of like coaching and a monthly fee on top of all that.
Mhm.
So I thought that was interesting because it wasn't like it just seems to be creeping up to the point where, as you depend on it more, they just slide in a little bit extra and get some more and slide in it and get some more,
Right.
charge some more. And
Somebody was telling me that sold.com, so they're another one who take
Mhm.
between 30 and 35%. I don't remember which one, but an agent recently told me that on top of participating in the referral fee, so you'll pay that much money when you close, they're letting agents pay extra a month to get like first dibs on an area code. So
Mhm.
on top of that 35%, you're paying, I don't know, a couple $100, $600 to be called first instead of like a fair assessment of here's a bunch of agents to choose from. It's like this person, you should call these three, and they likely paid to be there. They all paid to be there, but like now they're paying extra.
It's pay to play.
Right.
All of it is pay to play.
Right. Right.
Even the articles of the top agents, it's all most of them you
Oh,
look at are paid. Not all of them, but a lot of them are.
right. And so Zillow has become the leader because they have the most consumer attention. So we
Mhm.
learned now how they make more than half of their revenue just selling your data to agents. But I think it's important too that they have started to buy up other companies, like we mentioned, Showing Time. So what do you think their strategy is? This is all personal opinion. We don't work at Zillow.
Yeah.
We're just nobodies in real estate who would like to discuss this to
So
explain how they make money.
I wrote a couple of them down that I think are important. Earlier this year, they had a partnership with Redfin that kind of didn't have. It seemed very surface level, not a big deal, but essentially it was for them to cross reference new builds that weren't on the MLS.
Mhm.
So I thought that was interesting because usually the two biggest competition in the area that have a little different models usually wouldn't partner together. Follow Up Boss was the recent news. So that's the most gigantic CRM that a lot of independent agents use, a lot of bigger brokerages use. So that's basically client retention management, how to continue to. Um, Zillow's big on you're not going to close them when you meet them the first time. Not always. There's a lot of what they call down the funnel or further up the
Mhm.
funnel that you have to work on, and that's what a CRM is going to do for them. I would assume that's why they acquired them. Showing Time is the appointment scheduler. They've owned Dotloop for a long time. Street Easy and Trulia was back in the day, and the new one that I was looking up while I was looking up all this was a company called Spruce. Do you know about Spruce?
Is that the one where you use your home equity to?
No, it's a like a digital title company, a way to transfer
Oh,
title.
I did see that. You're right. You're
That's a
right.
big one. So you might see a video
Right.
about that on my
Right.
page.
Well, you hear they're like building a super app, a one-stop shop, which I was in the Business Insider article recently that James Rodriguez put out. And the poor guy called me to talk about like home buyer, why it's hard for home buyers. And I
Mhm.
went off and I talked so much trash on the industry. And he
Mhm.
used one freaking sentence, but it was a fair one. It said, if you were getting all your services in one place from one company, are you getting the best and are you getting the best price? And that's
Fair question to
essentially
ask. Yeah.
right. And I think that's essentially where this is headed because I think it's important to mention that Zillow also makes their money off of mortgages. And that ties into, I think, the next situation here because mortgages and real estate agents, while there are a ton of RESPA rules in place, a lot of these big companies have figured out how to shift sending clients back and forth with however they can avoid getting in trouble for RESPA. And
Mhm.
RESPA are kind of the rules and lines to make sure that you are not being pushed to people based on a financial incentive, essentially. Like it's to keep people in check. Doesn't always work, but there are rules for it. So Mike Del Prete wrote that Zillow's path forward is dependent on its ability to capture more leads, further monetize those leads, and attach any ancillary services like mortgage on a super app leading to super revenue. So good for them. But I think it's important to talk about their relationship between the mortgages and the real estate agents because Mike Del Prete also put out an article not too long ago that was talking about their premier agent programs. So, like their flex program or however, whichever model, the monthly or the commission based one, and how they're going to be slimming down, but then also encouraging those agents they work with to refer to Zillow home loans. And the
Mhm.
way Mike Del Prete had set the chart out is like the more leads you close and the more leads that are closing on Zillow home loans, the more leads you get from Zillow. So you're kind of encouraged to push people. And that's nothing new. Rocket Homes and Rocket Mortgage does something very similar to which the CFPB, the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, has been investigating since what, 2020, if that's a
I
legitimate
saw
thing to
something
do.
new on, I think it was Rocket Mortgage recently. I don't know. I won't quote it 'cause I don't know, but I think it
What,
was
that they're in trouble?
something. It was something new about that as far as there was some sort of percentage on there. I don't know for sure, but there would. I'd
Oh,
have to.
okay.
But
So
this is all. This is a great segue though from what you just said with Zillow into what changes are coming and how they're going to capitalize on it for
right,
sure.
right. Yeah. But I just think it's important. Like,
Yeah.
we're hammering on Zillow, but like Rocket Mortgage, Rocket
Yeah.
Home,
Yeah.
very, very same thing. And
This is a conversation of how big tech is capitalizing, and
right,
then
right,
it's going to lead into, as you guys see a little bit later, if you want more transparency from agents, you're really going to want to advocate from it from big tech too, because of what's happening now and the perception of what realtors are now compared to, you know, what's actually happening behind the scenes, where the money's going. You do a great job of that, but we don't reach 400 million people a year. Let's just be honest, right? Like
right,
it's not, it's just not,
right. I mean, well,
not
the reality is whoever has the most consumer attention makes the rules. I mean,
yeah, yeah,
whether legal, not legal, however they want to do it, whatever loopholes they can find, whoever has the most consumer attention can charge what they want, and can do what they want and find enough legal resources to make sure they don't get sued for it. I mean, that is what
and
big tech is, get the
their
most
tech,
attention. Yep.
Zillow's tech is light years ahead. I mean, it is. I'm not putting them down at all. What they've done is amazing for them and their business.
Mhm.
I totally understand agents have been saying for the last decade that Zillow is going to, the people that agents that pay Zillow are going to put you out of business. And yeah, they could. But at the very minimum, though, they're going to change your role in the business and automate a lot of it. And let's be real, a lot of stuff's going to get automated. So it's more about adapting, changing, and still being able to work within the parameters. Just like agents that used to fax offers over, we make fun of it now, but it is what it is. Like, we don't do that now, and the people that still continue to do that or use a book, we're phased out.
Do people still send faxes? No, they don't. No, they don't.
I've had one that didn't know how to email that I had to meet him in his office, but they are one of the older brokerages that have been around for a while.
Oh, good Lord. Good Lord. Although, like, if you're not emailing people and you don't have it in writing, they can probably get away with a lot more stuff, because it's like, oh, I told you this. Yep. But there's no email confirmation that I said that. Okay, so let's talk about moving forward, because unless you live under a rock, there are, at this point, 8 antitrust lawsuits against NAR. Some are against NAR, majority are. The big 4, so Keller Williams, Berkshire Hathaway, Anywhere, which is like Coldwell Banker, Sotheby's, Century 21, and Remax. And now they're actually getting nitty gritty. The recent one in Texas is naming like individual brokers, the local associations, the city or state associations, like they're all getting pulled into these situations. And it's focusing on the buyer agent commission, which is interesting because most of these platforms, I would say, are weighted to buyer leads than seller leads, right? Like, they're going online, you're filling out that form about a home you like, and boom, your information is sold.
We know why, though, right? You know why it's for buyer leads, right? Because of the way it's set up. We've talked about this, right? The agents have said that they're free, so they don't have to sell their service. And of course, that's the wrong way to represent it. Your services are or could be included by the seller to be paid to you through the listing agent, through the way it's set up now. And really, that's just a different conversation to have rather than saying free. But if you were a big tech company and you wanted to, obviously, first of all, you want people looking at homes. Second of all, you have this buyer agent that is providing a service that's included for the most part. So you are not guaranteeing they're already paid, but they are not working to provide their value for the pay that's coming from the other side. They don't have to. A lot of them do. I'm not saying a lot of agents don't work to provide their value. There's a lot of great agents out there that do. But compared to having to provide your value and get that signed and get paid and then give it to somebody else, it's a little different.
Right. But I think these platforms that have been kind of coasting on these 2.5%, 3% commission and getting 30, 40% of that, like, that can change. And now it could be, well, I charged my buyer $5,000. What in your thoughts? Because if things change and their revenue stream changed, considering they're a public company, they're not allowed to do that, and they will get their ass reamed out if they lose a ton of money. What do you think their next move is to make sure they're making bank?
So I think it's all dependent on how the rules come down, right? If a seller is no longer able to pay a buyer's agent, whether it's through a listing agent or not, that's going to change things drastically. And I think it would actually change it in favor of Zillow, because my theory on all of it, and again, it's just a theory.
We're just random people talking about this. And nothing is.
My theory on all of this, if I were them, my strategy would be, okay, we know how to provide a value to our clients because they come to see us. They love us. They love Zillow. We're replacing agents, right? So I would say they would be in the best position to be able to get the buyer agreement signed. They have the signing software now. They have the CRM. They can schedule the showing through showing time. And they can approve you for a mortgage. And then they can call the agent that's on the team. They have they have teams everywhere. They dominate every market.
And so it's important to mention they are a member of the National Association of Realtors, and they are considered a brokerage. So they can.
That's the only reason why you can pay like a referral fee like that. Exactly.
Right.
So if you add all that up together, right, and you have a bunch of agents in the market that are all used to Zillow leads, which, let's be real, they're not getting what you guys think they're getting. If you want to go off of it, just cut it in a third, right? They're already used to working for 2/3 of what you think they're getting. And then that model says, hey, we're going to do all this for you. You can still dominate the market. We'll still give you the leads almost the same way. We'll get the buyer agent agreement signed. that they'll have to pay us X to use a Zillow Premier agent and Zillow Home Loans and Zillow this. They'll still formulate it as a discount, but because they're making money off the loans, and then they'll be making more money, in my opinion, off the agent. I think it'll move more to like a 50-50 type deal where the agents are doing more of what we hear in the TikTok comments, opening the doors, filling in the contracts, going to closing, done. Like they'll just be that, yes, they'll be able to provide a value and kind of get the deal to closing, but
It's
they'll
like
get it
boots on the ground, right?
Yeah, basically meet this person here. Your job is to take that person from that house to the closing table. We've done the rest. They're
Because
already
we have the
approved.
showing times and we have the DocuSigns
Yeah.
and we have everything ready. So it's almost like a referral flip, right? Like right now,
Yes.
you sign with an agent and Zillow gets a cut of that. And it could be you sign with Zillow and then the agent will get a cut of whatever Zillow makes.
I'm sure Zillow will be smart enough to give a free version of their website to people that aren't signed with an agent that's limited.
Mm-hmm.
And then, hey, we're not going to charge you anything, but if you sign this agreement and you're buying a house in the next 3 to 6 months that you will use a Zillow agent that will make money off of, you can have free access to this platform, which is kind of what I think the public don't see now, is why it's free to them now and why they're getting the value that they say they're getting for free when they see the agent making all the money. And that's also kind of why I mentioned to you in that one video, and I know you were a big fan of how can we make this happen, but putting that referral fee on the agreement, because it takes the consumer's perspective from, and I'm just using random numbers here, so it takes the consumer perspective from, hey, my agent made 10,000, but I found it on Zillow and they charged me nothing, to, hey, Zillow got $3,500 from my home sale. My agent got $6,500, and my agent actually negotiated $9,000 in closing costs for me. Zillow, I just used a free app to, like, what did they do to deserve that? So I think if we're talking transparency, I think that's one of the big things that if people could really see that side of it, they might still have bad experiences with realtors. Don't get me wrong. Everyone that I know at least has one, which is not good for the business. It's just why we need some change. But it at least shows some perspective of what the value is, because everyone keeps saying, what do you do for this percentage? And the first thing I want to say is, how do you know they're getting that?
Right.
You know what I mean? Because big tech has really taken over and dominated the data and got to the consumer first and is trying to sell that to us as much as they can.
I would love for someone to get a closing statement where it says that they paid their listing agent $12,000 and Dave Ramsey's getting like $3,000 of it, and say, hey, wait a minute, like,
but why don't we have that? Like, what in the world of how information can travel so fast, and consumer advocacy and transparency, and again, I'm not going to get into the legalities of what exactly antitrust is because I'm not a lawyer, but I would think that's it's violating some rule of, like, you're getting paid on the back end, and I'm sure there's something disclosed when you sign up, but it's not really. It's not there. You know what I mean? The only big number people see is what the realtor makes. Right.
And I think it's important to say, like, these referral companies get paid first, right? Like, so the broker, so the broker, so let's say I close, the broker, so who your agent works for, gets X, and the buyer broker gets X, right? Before that's even divvied up between the broker and the agent, the Zillow, the Dave Ramsey, the Home Lights, they get their cut first, like very first people to get paid. Before they can like deposit it into their bank account. So I don't see why it's not on the disclosures, or why it's not on, that final piece of paper you get where you see where everyone's making money. And I know I'm going to get this comment that, well, that's the way car dealerships work, and that's the way so-and-so works. Well, great. Let's apply this transparency to freaking everything, right? Yeah. Like if it is 30 or 40% of what someone is making, and you're told it's free, and it's technically coming out of all the crap that you're paying, like, and it's that much money, you should know that. You should see that.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. How do we make this happen? I have some friends. What do we need to do? Consumer Federation of America.
I said, I don't know if there's protections in place because those companies want it there. I don't know if it's going to violate some other, it's way above my head, but I think is the idea of it, however we could get it to work, would be beneficial just for everybody to understand. Because me personally, if I understand how something works, I can see the value and I will agree to it. That's just how my mind works. And I feel like if I was paying a referral fee to a dealership and something else, I'd be like, well, what are they doing for this? And, again, maybe that's why it's not in there, because it makes more trouble than it helps, but I don't see it. I think it would be, in
Right.
this environment we're in now, I think it's needed to give some perspective to a business that is going very fast in the direction of internet and big tech.
It's like a spiral. It was already going fast between
Yeah.
internet and big tech, and now you have like lawsuit after lawsuit. And like originally there were four, and I mean,
Yeah.
they've been in the court system for a couple years, but
Yeah.
like they've gotten to the point where they're heading to trial or they're getting certified as a class action lawsuit. And now there's 8 or 9, or by the time this goes out, there'll probably be 10. Who knows?
Yeah. And
And
that's one thing I wanted to get your take on this. If you're required because I'm a smaller brokerage, so maybe
yeah,
they'll lump me into one, maybe they won't, I don't know. But as a smaller brokerage, right? If I'm required to be a realtor to be in the MLS that's following the rule that's in question, what is the brokerage side responsibility of, hey, I was required to do this rule that's wrong. I'm going to say now I'm not going to, now that you've told me it's wrong. But all the time in the past before, my theory on this. I still think a seller offering to pay a buyer's agent compensation is in their best interest in most cases, from what I've seen. And I think maybe a model that has a, hey, let's try it without and add it in if we need it. Or one of my best analogies really is, I sell in a luxury community down the road. There's a $40,000 buy-in to that community for the buyer. And of course, they're still building it.
just to live there, or
Yep.
wait, what?
Yep. Just to live there.
I just live, sometimes I think like, am I at a disadvantage in this industry?
I don't live there, by the way. I
I know.
I try to make friends with those people so I can sell in there.
Right. But I swear, like, when I go on to Twitter, because it's all about like investors and the high real estate people and the shit they talk about. And I'm like, I feel like I'm doing my humility and myself so much better to stay in my little city of Pittsburgh and just
Yep.
be in a modest house around people who have just regular jobs, who
Yep.
don't have yachts and don't have private planes and don't, because
It's a whole new world.
when you get that far to the other side, you forget what it's like for just every day. You know what I mean? Like my server years, the times that I, in order to foot some of the bills during COVID for my platform, worked in Amazon, like as a side gig, that kind of stuff, I think keeps you.
That's called character building. Yeah. Sure.
Regular. I'm going to say regular. And I'm not bashing rich people. I just think
No.
that sometimes you lose perspective of like everyday people, because it's all about money. Like how much money can you get? But, I think it's important to mention too, I think these antitrust lawsuits, from my perspective, I have some lawyer friends. I think their goal was to say the seller can offer the buyer.
Yes.
Right.
I think that's a great idea.
Right. It's removed from the listing agent offering the buyer, because then you kind of remove the steering aspect of it. Like,
the only thing from a realtor perspective, the only thing that I think we have to make sure if we do that is having 2 agents having communication to the same seller around themselves, because I can see how that can be a conflict of interest if one of them starts bad mouthing the other agent during the transaction. You know what I mean? I think there should be an offer of compensation there. Honestly, my workaround around it is just a box in the MLS that says, is willing to work with an agent or isn't willing to work with a buyer's agent as far as compensation. Because
and it could even be like,
if you put your cards out there, right? If you say, hey, I'm willing to pay this amount, and that person already has an agreement with their buyer's agent that's less.
Right.
I mean, yeah, you can still do the whole like discount thing, but you also could have an agent that took advantage of that says, hey, yeah, I know we have this, but it's covered. Don't worry. I don't know how many of the buyers are going to be able to decipher if that's different or not. So, I mean, I also see the advantage in offering an actual percentage similar to what builders do, right, to incentivize sales. And that's kind of what I was getting at with the new construction. So the new construction offers to waive the $40,000, and the resales have to either absorb it to be competitive, which takes off their bottom line, or just try to sell it for more. And if you really think about that, because I have those conversations all the time, and I related it to the whole like, why would you pay a buyer's agent? Especially because they keep saying this like they're negotiating against you. And I mean, they are once they've brought the person that's paying the money for the house. Does that make sense?
Right.
So, yes, their job is to get their buyer the best deal, but they're also bringing the buyer, representing the buyer, making sure that their loan's good because they don't get paid unless all this happens and goes through, right? It's performance based. So if you have the new build, if you're going to go buy a house in this luxury community, let's pretend you own a yacht for a second. And you see the next door neighbor, they've just moved in, they have to move out for some reason. It's the same price, but you've got to pay the 40,000. When the buyer has to pay the agent now, if that changes, that does change how you steer yourself, not the agent steering you.
Right.
So you will, as a buyer, and again, I like to remove all the possibility of the agents doing that. I tell people all the time, this system you can work well in. I feel like I do a good job in this system. I'm able to help people, especially first-time home buyers, get into homes low out of pocket. I don't want to add to that, and I know that's one aspect of what could come out of this, but
right.
at the end of the day, I like some of the things that come out of it. I really, really like taking the power away from the listing agent because I believe the last 2 or 3 years.
Oh my God.
They've really abused.
When they tell the seller they're going to charge 5%, but then it's like 3% to them and 2% to the, you know what I mean? Like,
it's almost worse. It's almost worse now because we've had this conversation too with the 100% brokerages that just pass on a transaction fee and some desk fees. Mm-hmm. So now these agents have been coached to not only be at 100% brokerage, but those transaction fees they have on the listing side, they can say, okay, let's take your example. 3% I'm keeping, 2% they can have, but I don't really want to pay this $495. So it's actually 2% minus $495. And if you question that on the buyer side, it's huge in Tampa. You cannot find a listing in Tampa without that minus in it. Everyone just passes it on now. It's got to that point.
Wild.
And I'm glad I'm not in that market. But
yeah,
if you take it to that point, it just becomes greed at the end of the day. Mm-hmm. And it's just being passed down and passed down and passed down. And at the end of the day, I've told a lot of people that these lawsuits are coming out because people are frustrated. Maybe they don't know exactly where to guide that anger, right? If someone can win an antitrust suit, they're celebrating because their agent did something completely different.
Right.
It just, whatever it is. So there's a lot of misguided anger. And that's why I try to get through to people is there are things that need to change in the business. The system doesn't need to be blown up. In my opinion, I think it needs to be, more transparency, more consumer advocacy, more just providing a value. And I think that's what's going to happen here. The agents that don't depend on the Zillows are going to have to really provide their value. And perform, which is what you need to do to get paid in the first place anyway. So.
Right. And then, I mean, the self-policing has to change because that's obviously not working very well. And, it's still, I always go back to like crap, like after 2008, the CFPB came into play and took over all like the observance of like the financial institutions and the junk fees. And like, there's all this effort. And then like the real estate agent segment, I know it's technically not in the financial realm, but it was such a big connection and piece to housing and mortgages that they just got like totally ignored. Right. And
I've got a question for you as far as, because everyone keeps talking about junk fees, right? And I had an interesting question the other day and I thought it was a good one. I said, what is a junk fee?
Is this Jonas? Is it Jonas that did this? Is it Jonas?
I'm sure he has, but
he did that to me too. My opinion is that we're already paying 2 to 3%, right? I mean, on average, whatever you want to say.
Yeah. You said it, not me.
Yeah, I know. I mean, listen, look, I took 100 sampling homes in Pittsburgh last week or 2 weeks ago. And majority was like 3. And there was like, well, let's say 60% was like 3, 35% was 2.5. Hardly anything was below 2.5, like hardly anything. So we're sitting at 2.5 to 3. And my sampling, right? That's not a standard. And that's just my sampling. We'll say it that way. But the fact that I know that they're just taking the cost of them doing business because their broker is not splitting commission anymore, right? So it used to be, I'll take 20%, you keep 80. But now they're all saying, take all of it, take all
Mhm.
the commission, and you just pay me $400 for every deal closed. And so that agent's taking that $400 and making me pay for it instead of their cost of doing business. So, in my opinion, it's when you're passing along the cost of doing business, your own business, for me to pay it when
That's a
it's really not,
that's a
and it's
great
nothing.
answer.
Right.
It is a great answer, and I think the way I described it was anything on top of commission you charge. I mean,
Right.
it's just extra stuff. If you want to, it's always spun as like a, well, our brokerage provides this value. I'm like, well, is that
Who's the
so?
value for?
Every time someone's come to me and said, well, hey, this, if you charge this fee, it could cover your payroll or your admin, or you could add an ISA, or you could add this value. And I'm like, well, why can't I figure out how to do that within what I make now versus adding a fee to pass on to just basically be less transparent
Right.
and hide fees elsewhere. And it's always, every time I've had this conversation in the past, it's always, well, most other people are doing it and they don't notice it. And nobody really says anything. And
Mhm.
that's always sat
That doesn't
wrong.
make it okay. That does
No,
not
it
make
doesn't.
it
It doesn't.
okay.
Yeah, it really doesn't. Just like the people that defend, this lawsuit, to say the seller signed the contracts. And I don't think the contracts are necessarily that bad, but if it's found to be wrong, that doesn't make it okay that the
Right.
seller signed it. You know what I mean? If
According
it's
to
an
according to
antitrust.
right, according to Rob Hahn, it's the fact that they even have to be asked to offer something, right? Like
Right.
even if it's zero, the fact that you have to include that is part of the problem and the steering, which good Lord, I need to make this clear. Every attorney has used the word
Yeah.
steering as in guiding someone, steering a boat, steering a car, pointing
Yeah.
in one direction. But
There's two.
steering,
The
there's
the
two.
overlap the
Right.
overlap is where it causes you to lose your license because it's illegal.
Right.
And
Right.
then the actual action of taking someone somewhere else. Someone explained this to me the other day, and I thought it was a really good example of like relating to a consumer. But if you go to a car dealership, probably a terrible analogy since nobody really likes car salesmen, but what are they going to do? They're going to say, hey, the new car, the fresh leather, they're going to sell that new car, and that is steering you to a new car.
Mhm.
But that is, and it's a little different because a dealership has inventory. They're not taking you to different dealerships, but essentially that's what sales is. It doesn't mean you have to take them to a more expensive house or do that, but at the end of the day, if you're in sales and you are, you know, there's different ways to do it, but I would say you're highlighting the features for what people like. And yes, people do incentivize you with money to steer you in their direction.
Mhm.
Um, and that is, I mean, and that comes from builders to everywhere else. So
Right.
I
Oh,
think if
builders.
people understand, if people see that, they can't feel like they're being steered. Like I said earlier, if the buyer can control that pay, like if
Mhm.
you have an agreement with a buyer, right, and you go to a new build and they have a bonus, that bonus just goes away, stays to them, or gets credited to them, right? Like I think if you had a model as an agent where you sold new construction, and right now in this environment they're struggling, so they're giving you bonuses. If you just gave that back and said, "I'll work for this. I don't need all this to
Mhm.
offset my losses over here," you'd probably stand out like a hero. And you're
If the
still getting
consumer,
paid.
if the consumer knew you were getting a bonus,
Well, I
which
mean, I think you would, if you were able to do some sort of campaign or lead off with like, hey, new construction. The reason why I'm a fan of new construction is because in Florida, the homeowners insurance is super low, right? And then if you're getting an interest rate, you can get a pretty good interest rate incentive. This time last year, we got a 3.99 on a VA loan, which was
wait a minute,
crazy
did you say home insurance is low in Florida
on new builds.
on
Yeah,
new builds?
in
Okay.
my area. So
Okay. But
the
you're not
last
in like,
three,
you're in the divvy, right? Aren't you in like
we're in
not
Central. Yeah.
protected area, but like you're
Well,
not in the
yeah, we're deemed a little bit lower impact from major storms. Yeah,
okay.
but the last three new construction homes that I have sold have been 500, 700, and $800 a year for homeowners insurance in Florida.
What's
So
it
I
normally?
mean, that's really low.
Okay.
And it's that compound with the interest rate incentives, and obviously taxes will go up, and we've done those videos, but
Mhm.
the payment can be three, four, $500 less. So that's why I'm going to incentivize it. Not if they're going to give me a bonus, But then if I was to give them that bonus to buy the rate down further or whatever I was going to do and say, hey, look, this is my agreement with you to represent you as a buyer. Anything on top of that that a builder might give me goes either towards you as a credit or off the purchase price, however we can negotiate it.
Right.
I don't think that's a bad plan.
No, depends on who you talk to, because I've mentioned that before, and I forget what his name is. He's like, "It's my money. Why are you telling me what to do with it?" And I'm like, "Oh my god!"
Well,
But
it's not actually your
not
money. You're being incentivized by a builder to bring your clients there. It's not,
right, and it's essentially baked into the price of the new build because they don't want to lower the price, the value of
just,
their home. I guess is the better way to put it.
just like we'll see if any of this changes with buyer agent commissions and them having to pay them themselves. Sellers will adjust price because buyers will have less buying power. That's just the way it's going to go. I mean, I don't. There's different ways to all this, and I think the ones
Nobody
that
knows.
adapt, the ones that adapt to the changes the quickest will always come out on top. But I
Right.
think you have to. What you just said is a perfect example of being stuck in your ways. I've said this before on a live, and I think it went over pretty well. If you view a discount agent as someone that's less than a certain percentage, or if you view the business this way and you're not willing to change, and that doesn't mean working for less than you're worth, but if you're not willing to change or adapt or understand that things might be different, the way you get paid and how your value is and what part of the job you do and what part of the job you don't do, um, that's going to be the same thing as sending the fax and not using email. It's going
Right.
to be
Right. And
it's
I
going to
feel
be
I
one of those
feel
big
bad.
pivotal changes.
Yeah, and I feel bad because I know I get viewed as like anti-agent on TikTok, and I'm not. And I don't know how many times I can say that, but like there's some big accountability issues, and that's why I share these issues because it gets brushed under the rug, and it's like, wait a minute, like we need
I
to
don't,
fix this, you
for the
know?
record, I don't see you as anti-agent. I see you
I
as
oof.
pro-consumer. And again, whenever an agent gets really defensive on a certain topic, it's usually because they can't see it another way, or they've been taught a certain way, or
Right,
they haven't been opened up to something. Not always, because I've got people on my post saying, "Oh man, he's getting so defensive about these lawsuits." But the reason I'm defensive about it is because I don't want it to get lost in translation and hurt the consumer when we're trying to protect them. At the end
right,
of the day,
right,
we really are. And I mean,
right. I guess what I
I,
was trying to say is I'm not I do feel bad for new agents who won't
oh yeah,
have someone to train them. I mean, there was a new agent I stitched the other day who was talking about, she didn't say the word free, but the whole tone of the video
yeah.
didn't vibe well with antitrust.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, man, like nobody probably told her. Like, and
Mm-hmm.
I commented to her like, hey, I made a video, and then I said, I'm not trying to belittle you, but like here's some things that you should be aware of. Here's some people that
Yeah.
are being sued by buyers. Like antitrust lawsuits are no longer from sellers. They're also from buyers. And one of the main points in the Batten 2 case is that the brokerages were promoting themselves as no cost, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I don't think anybody's trained her that. And I think things are going to shift quickly. And
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I feel bad for the agents who don't have brokers or brokers in charge or designated brokers like you who are like, hey, here's what this might look like. Let's
Mm-hmm.
talk about it. You know,
Yeah. Yeah.
instead it's
And
nothing's going to happen. This is bullshit, blah, blah, blah.
yes.
Let's
Yes.
Sue the attorneys. And I was like, oh
Yeah.
God, you're
Yeah.
missing it because it's going to come. And it's
I did see an interesting video. I'll have to send it to you. And he did kind of say should NAR countersue. He didn't say sue the attorneys, but he said it in a way of like, the plaintiffs won because they hired the best representation. And he really wanted people to understand that that's kind of what a good agent does for you on the other side. There's cheaper options. There's MLS only options now. There's always been for sale by owner. There's always been courses that people sell to help you do it yourself. Whether they get you more
I know
money,
somebody.
whether they get you more money or not is what you need to decipher with that critical thinking. And that's why,
Right.
if anyone can take anything away from this other than the big things, net sheets are so important. If I go on a listing appointment, I'm never selling myself. I'm always just saying, hey, what's your goal? Can I get you there? Is it better for you to do it yourself? Should you at least try to do it yourself first? I mean, and then I can come in the middle and maybe you save a little bit of money that way.
Mhm.
Sometimes it gets messy, but if you give everyone the options, just lay it all out on the table and say, hey, this is how I'm going to help you get here. This is what we're going to do. This is how much that costs you. This is how much you walk away with. There's the expectation's been set.
Right.
You know what you're getting. Everyone's happy, and you're all starting on the same page. Versus just like a lot of the agents are taught to, really they are worth the percentage that their brokerage charges, and there's no one that can tell them wrong. And if they don't like that, they're just wrong. And I just think people have to understand that there are different strokes for different folks. I mean, if in this environment we're moving into where people have less equity, you might have to figure out how to do it yourself if you're forced in a situation to sell in an area that didn't have the appreciation to cover the cost to sell. Right? I mean, that's a real situation.
It's like a la carte services. And to that, I will say the agents online from a consumer perspective that are like, you need to use an agent, blah, blah, blah. Like, that puts consumers in a position of like, don't tell me what I need or not need to do. Like, your approach is so much better. Like, here are your options. Let's walk through it. Let's understand.
It's the same conversation.
Like, you need to use me. You're dumb if you don't use me. And it's like, stop doing that. Like, that's so off-putting.
It's the same conversation, just in a different way, as to say, hey, and again, I didn't come from sales. I didn't like sales.
Me too. I did radio sales, and I would come home. I mean, this was like 2006, and I would come home crying because they would send me to these restaurants and be like, they're like, I have $3,000 for the year. What can that get me? And I'm thinking like 1 week of 15s that will do jack shit for you. And they're like, you need to sell this contract. And I'm like, but it's not going to work. And it's going to take all their money. Like, I'm not cut out for that, but go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was so lucky to be on the other side of that. I was in the auto repair industry. I went to school for it. Like, when everyone tells me to go find another job, I'm like, I'm good. I can go turn a wrench if I need to.
Right.
But I worked for a local shop, and that owner saw a customer service side to me that he liked and that he doesn't typically see in mechanics. So after about 3 weeks, he's like, I'm bringing you inside. I want you to be a service advisor. I want you to tell people what's wrong with their car, show them you've got the knowledge. I just want you to do that. And I was like, yeah, I'm not going to do that. I'm sorry. I'm just going to stay under the car. He said, I'm going to pay you more. And I was like, okay.
Where do I stand?
But he didn't put me on commission. I've been so lucky to get into sales without any pressure from the outside to tell me that's when people tell me from the outside, like, hey, you're super successful now, you should do this. I'm like, no, that's not how I got here. You know what I mean?
Right.
So he saw something in me, put me in that position. I used my knowledge of cars to talk to the old lady to say, hey, look, yes, a wheel bearing is something you need to do now. You might not make it home, but your back brake pads, those can wait till the next time you come in, save up for them. You might not have the $1,000 to do all of it, but pay $600 for the wheel bearing, pay the $400 for brakes when you come back. If you start hearing a screech when you're stopping, bring it in. Those are the things that, I could easily go in there and say, you need this or you're not making it. Like, I could scare her to death, but you don't feel the same way. And so because I put the education first and then brought it to whatever value I was providing, I just kind of did the same thing of that in real estate. And it took a while to build it up. I had 1 sale my first year, 3 my second year. It's not like I did anything special. It's just slow snowballing effect that now this year I think we're 3 sales ahead of last year in a market where we have 27% less sales.
Right. And it's not even the end of the year yet.
And we're not getting them from TikTok. We're not asking people telling them it's a good time to buy. We're just saying, hey, if you need help, come to us. We'll figure it out.
You're not knee deep into Zillow and realtor.com. Okay, I want to mention too, because we got to wrap it up, because I said a half hour and Jesus, we're at an hour and the bus stop is coming. So I want to say 2 things. One, for people listening, like I feel like Matt has the most. Do you like Matt or Matthew? I always say Matt because my brother's Matt. What do you prefer?
I don't mind either way.
Okay.
Matt's most common because it's shorter, but I don't mind either way.
Yeah. All right. So we're going to go with Matt because it's just quicker. All right. Yeah. So I think you have one of the more neutral perspectives. You're not doom and gloom. You're like, hey, there should be some issues with this, but what's it look like? So for people that have questions, or even agents, I feel like I'll put your information in the podcast episode description. But if people have questions in general, I think it would be fun for people to submit, kind of like how Travis Kelce and his brother do, like no dumb questions about real estate.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like
Yeah.
we should do an episode about that. Like,
Cool. Yeah.
There's nothing stupid you could say. So if you have questions about that, I will put a link where you can submit them, and maybe we can do one like that just to.
We often forget, because we are knee deep in the business, how the outside sometimes has the basic questions, and we're just like, oh, you didn't know that? Duh. But yeah, that would be a great way to get people to come in and, be able to ask the question that they've never really got past to get to that next stage. Yeah.
Right. And then number 2, you were doing a toy drive that you do every year. So if you could tell people where they can contribute, or how they can contribute.
So last year we did a golf tournament. It benefits Baby DJ, which, if you know the Orlando area, is a very big radio station in the area. It's his toy drive. He's done it for a long time. I've listened to him since I was a teenager, so that's how long he's been on the radio. So he's kind of a public figure in Central Florida. He does it for Orlando, and we kind of expanded it to Lake County. I told him, like, hey, if I do an event out here, collect some toys, would you do it? He's like, absolutely, I'll go anywhere for a toy. So he came out in 2020. We got like 1,200 toys. It was crazy. I couldn't have even fathomed it. And every year since, we've done better and better. This year, we didn't get to do our golf tournament, but we have been raising money. It is our fourth quarter charity that we donate to. But if people want to help, honestly, the easiest way is to just promote my videos on TikTok.
Right, because you can get money based on views, and all the earnings from that are going to.
Yeah, all of that, all of November, and I'll share a screenshot, and it'll be much more than that. But everything from November will go towards buying toys. On November 30th, we have a day we're going to go shop at Target. We did it last year. It was really, really fun. We actually had to order a U-Haul this year to be able to make sure we can get the toys out and not have 16 vehicles do it. But yeah, we're taking them all to the Citrus Tower on December 2nd, which is a local spot here in Claremont. They let us sponsor the light show. The radio station comes out. We do like a little, kind of like holiday festival type thing. Everyone brings a toy. They get a free ride to the top when they come back if they bring a toy. So, and it all just goes towards a local charity that is just set up by this radio station that takes applications on the radio, and helps every family they can with, I think the parents get to go like shopping. So you get to go pick 3 toys out. It's not like a request thing, but you get to go pick 3 toys out. But that can be, we get a ton of bikes, anywhere from an like infant to teenager. Some people have like 4 or 5 kids, so they're going to shop for all of them. But they get this warehouse. They go shop around. It's really cool to see in person their operation. I couldn't do it. I can collect the toys and give it to them, but I couldn't do the rest of the logistics. It's a lot.
A lot, yeah. So I'll put information in the podcast episode too, because I think that's important.
Yeah.
Because everything is so doom and gloom, and I have so many trolls in my comments that we should probably end on a high note with that, because social media is draining. So
I will say one of the things about this business that has allowed me to do is really look into community. Realtors, like good ones, can really be connected to their community and make positive impacts. This is the road that I chose, but I know there's so many others that are on local boards and building, and you can say that sometimes that can be to their interest. You can say that my donations are to my interest, but at the end of the day, you're bettering your community.
Right. Let's be honest. And this was from the Mindy Project, but I remember Danny saying, like, why do you think like Christians do all this good stuff? Because they want that end reward to be like way up in the sky or wherever, whatever you believe in, right? Like, you always want to do good, but like sometimes there just is motive behind
I'll leave you with this. I'm a big proponent in purpose and giving back. So a lot of times if you give back, it really unlocks sense of purpose and being and why you're doing what you're doing. And it really helps with your overall perspective on, like you just said, like you get caught up in this rich world, you can have perspective on helping people in need. And it's more about the time and the effort you put in than the money itself. And that's what most people, the disconnect comes in. So it's definitely about the effort.
Yeah. It's not just about sending in money. So, all right, I'll link that too. Thank you for your time. And for people that want to ask a dumb real estate question, we will do an episode soon on that.
Have a story or a question you want to share? Hit us up at therealestatereplay.com.